Criminal justice reform has been an issue that has forged many unlikely political alliances.
Americans from across the political spectrum can unite around prison reform legislation that will reduce crime while giving our fellow citizens a chance at redemption.
In the United States of America, we now have 2.2 million people in jail. That is more people incarcerated than any other country on earth.
What I've seen is that there are people across the board, folks who work inside the criminal justice system, folks who are affected by the criminal justice system, who are saying there's got to be a better way to do this.
America definitely has a flawed criminal justice system. It's flawed on many levels.
The criminal justice system in the United States is pretty deeply broken. That brokenness escalates throughout the system. So from laws to how we do policing, to how we prosecute people, all the way up to sentencing and even things like the death penalty.
If you think that the solution to a problem is to lock people away, then you need to educate yourself, because we've been doing that for 30 years and it's just getting worse. We haven't rolled this problem back, we are exacerbating the problem.
And that's the storyline we've been told, right? That incarceration keeps us safer, it cuts down crime. In actuality, criminological studies don't show that much of a correlation between incarceration rates and crime rates.
With that heavy reliance on retribution as opposed to rehabilitation, we see people going through this revolving door.
So if you truly want to fix your community, if you truly want to be a positive force in society, you have to rethink that approach if you believe locking people up is the solution.
So that's why it's really important for us to stay woke, stay informed, and raise our voice.
Let me see your hands.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Mr.
Both hands.
I didn't do nothing.
Put your fucking hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
All right. What I do though? What did we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your fucking hand up there. Jesus Christ. Keep your fucking hands on the wheel. Keep your fucking hands on the wheel.
Yes, sir.
That response right now. You got
Right now.
I think the George Floyd moment told us some aspects of the flaws, the encounters that police have on the streets with citizens, and especially with people of color.
When it comes to the issue of racism in this country, racism in the criminal justice system, we saw a watershed moment in the summer of 2020 when people really took to the streets around the murder of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. But this goes back further. We have not really gotten to the root cause of why there's so much inequality in this country. And the root cause was racism and slavery.
When people say that we have a problem with race and policing, of course we do. Because basically our first police officers of any kind of organized sense, were coming in the era of slavery, and they were assigned to be basically slave catchers. And so it's not illogical that it has evolved to now have these components that are racially loaded.
And while people think, oh my gosh, slavery was 200 years ago, right? I mean, that has nothing to do with anything now. Well, the problem is slavery set into motion the foundation of certain systems with regards to creating a new body of charges that was specifically designed to target Black people. Because remember, the 13th Amendment outlawed slavery except within the context of the criminal justice system, except within the context of being incarcerated.
When you go to jail, you're a number, and you are now the property of the state or the Fed, whatever you go.
It's to the point that it's legal slavery. You know what I mean? It's like they'll put you in jail to make money for the states, whether you're making license plates or whatever it is they got them doing.
Well, statistics show that Black and brown communities are the most impacted in terms of criminal justice system because that is who we police. It's a self-perpetuating situation, right? We think, well, this is where the crime came from before statistically, so let's police it more.
So there's inequality in the way that communities are policed, which then results in inequality in the way people get into the system. So by fueling the incarceration system, by fueling the jail system, that was another way of being able to get unpaid labor, the same benefits that slavery initially provided. So we have to really go back further to really come to that reckoning in this country, and we've never done that.
First, we have to join together to ensure that drug dealers are punished swiftly, surely, and severely. And in line with what the President is calling for, we have to hold every drug user accountable. Because if there were no drug users, there would be no appetite for drugs, and there'd be no market for them. In a nutshell, the President's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and not enough prison cells to put them away for a long time. That's why right now, 6 out of every 10 criminals who are arrested on drug charges have their cases dropped. That's why we think the President should triple the commitment that he's made tonight for police, prosecutors, and judges for our cities and our states.
We've got to look back and say we've had an entire generation that grew up with their fathers incarcerated for nonviolent crimes that led to a whole community growing up without that full, complete family, which led to economic strife, which led to all of the other dominoes that fell to lead us to 2.5 million people in jail right now.
If you have a third of black men in the United States under some watch of the criminal justice system, which is true, it dismantles whole communities.
That's not just coincidence. We did something. We changed policies, we changed laws. We had the so-called war on drugs in the 80s. Those laws are still in place, and those very, very heavy criminal consequences are still in place right now. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff on making sure that police don't kill young black and brown men, but you're still going to keep incarcerating them at the same exorbitant levels that we have been for 25, 30 years now.
It's just not set up for mainly like people like me and like my color. I know it's supposed to like teach you a lesson, but I think it's teaching you a bad lesson at the same time. It's not set for you to really come out of this situation where you learn and you can kind of like be a better person. I think it's designed to like kind of like keep you in the cycle.
Our default position should not be incarceration, it should be restoration.
It is for the greater community good. We're all humans and we feel those moments. We have to get defendants to feel those moments in a way that isn't about vengeance and punishment, but it's about restoring them to be more human. The humanity that they may have lost somewhere along their way, we have to help them reconnect to that.
I think we need to make a lot of changes in terms of laws that we could get rid of. I think we need to make changes in how police operate. For instance, the police have become increasingly militarized in most communities. This is not an invasion, and that whole war on crime mentality needs to be adjusted dramatically.
The first thing I would do would be to move away from minimum mandatories on the state and the federal level.
Create an opportunity for young men economically. It is finding a way to help them stand up for themselves so that they see a different path.
For me, it's about education, exploring and utilizing restorative justice, and it's about treating people as humans.
Working together with my administration over the last 2 years, these members have reached a bipartisan agreement. Did I hear the word bipartisan? Is that, there you go. Did I hear that word? That's a nice word. Bipartisan agreement on prison reform legislation known as the first step. And that's what it is. It's a first step, but it's a very big first step. Today, I'm thrilled to announce my support for this bipartisan bill that will make our community safer and give former inmates a second chance at life after they have served their time.
This isn't about politics. Like, sometimes things transcend politics. Prison reform, justice reform, getting people out of prison, getting people out of jail, it transcends what your feelings are about the individual. So I get it. A lot. People don't like Biden, people don't like Trump, people don't like Reagan. I get all that. But like stuff like prison and justice reform and getting people out, that transcends anything that you have for the person himself.
I think we've taken some steps to change course over the last few years. Putting politics aside, President Trump passed one of the most monumental, in my opinion, criminal justice reform bills, which was the First Step Act.
It will provide new incentives for low-risk inmates to learn the skills they need to find employment, avoid old habits, and follow the law when they're released from prison. These incentives will encourage them to participate in vocational training that reduce their chances of recidivism.
One of the most important things we can do is educate ourselves. A lot of people don't know about these disparities. They make assumptions based on things they may see on TV that are incorrect. So get educated. There's a lot of really good resources.
Reasonable sentencing reforms. We're treating people differently for different crimes.
We need to be better consumers of information, and we need to be more informed and educate ourselves and teach others so that we make wise decisions at the ballot box, so that then we can see better outcomes in the criminal justice system.
Among other changes, it rolls back some of the provisions of the Clinton crime law that disproportionately harmed the African American community.
In general, I think society is part of the problem right now, and we have to do a better job as a collective of looking ourselves in the mirror. We all recognize that we all come out of the box as humans without being drug dealers or drug users or violent offenders. These are things that happen through the journey of life. So if you can find a way to be a blockade to whatever creates that, you can also find a way to undo those who've already gone that path.
Trump pardoned Kodak Black. He was sentenced in November 2019 to 3 years in prison.
Yeah, so Kodak tweeted yesterday, "I want to thank the President Donald Trump for his commitment to justice reform and shortening my sentence. I also want to thank everyone for their support and love. It means more than you will ever know. I want to continue giving back, learning, and growing."
The criminal justice system in America needs fine-tuning and readjustment, and I think it needs to be shaken up a little bit and made right.
There's just too much shit to fix, and I don't think it's that easy to fix right now. It's been generations of discrimination against people of color and like lower class people. It's more class too. You sweep another shit on the rug, eventually that shit gonna pile up.
Because of the fact that he has a past, that's why they came after him. He ain't really do nothing wrong. It wasn't a violent crime.
You know, we know him on a personal level, you know what I'm saying? Just those conversations and knowing what he wants to bring to the world. All the people that he helps behind the scenes that nobody never really talks about.
I knew that Kodak was locked up, so, you know, I was down to do something. When I hit up Reggie, I was like, yo, like, you know, we could do something with this thing, and I didn't feel right monetizing on it, and I felt that, especially with Kodak doing so much stuff from while he's locked up and, you know, for the community. I do a lot of stuff for the community too. I'm like, should we do it for the kids? Should we do it for this or whatever? And we were like, oh, what about prisoner reform, since it is a free Kodak shirt? So just out of relevance, that's how I think that came about.